What's up everyone? Beast Mode back here with another video. So today I don't have a lot of time to record, unfortunately, with the holidays coming up. So I just wanted to go over a quick match here and really discuss a topic that I see in here, and I'm sure everyone else here has at least discussed before, about getting, luck sacked, or my opponent had all the outs and oh my goodness, they top decked MST, or they top decked this, or they top decked that. So my belief is that sure, top decks are always going to happen. Myself included, I've top decked, brain control or dark arm, or my opponent has done the same thing. And that's going to happen. Nobody has any cards. Your opponent draws. They draw a monster. They summon, attack you, and then you draw a brain control. You take their monster and attack them for game. Like, sure, you can use the term quote unquote luck sack, right? That's going to happen to everybody. But when you're constantly saying that the opponent had this, they had that, you're probably not playing the cards properly. You're not setting yourself up for success if they're able to top a mystical space typhoon and beat you. Like, that card is not game breaking, right? Sure, at certain times it can definitely steal a win, but so I want to discuss a match here that I lost, 100% lost. And I do not feel that my opponent, quote unquote, luck sacked me. I feel that he played well, I played well, and I think that he just had better cards, and I just wasn't able to win the game. I don't think he drew godly. So I think that sometimes you are playing cards and you make a read and the read works out and puts you in a really good position, and then other times the read is not what it is and you fall behind and you lose the game. Sports teams, not every, sometimes it's a really close game and one team has to win, and that happens. It's not that you necessarily made mistakes or your opponent got really lucky. So I think this is a prime example, and on the next video I'm going to get right back into the top four with of the RBT5. 10. I played against 10 foot, and I will show you that match there. I played extremely bad. There are many misplays, and I think it's going to be a great video to discuss what I should have done. And it really shows that players that top a lot of events make mistakes too. Everybody's human, and I don't care who it is. There are days that you play extremely well. You playing out of your mind. You're essentially going beast mode. Nobody can stop you. And then there are days where you can't play your way out of a wet paper bag. So we'll get into this game here. So this actually was a match from a Peak the Beak, or it was a 48-hour Edison tournament. So each round was 48 hours, and you had to schedule your match with your opponent. It was a Swiss tournament. And unfortunately, I had to play at like 6:30 in the morning because my opponent was way out of the. He was in a far different time zone, and I was like, I didn't even have morning coffee yet, but I decided to play my match at that time, so that's what it is. So let me hide hand, or show my hand. So my hand is okay. Nothing really. You can't complain. He got to go first, which is good. So he's on value. So with this hand here, I know he's on value because I see it. So my guess is that this is either one of three things. It could be a value, it could be a hamster, it could be a Raikou. Less likely a value because there's already one removed. So now you have 3 Raikou versus 2 hamster typically. So in this situation here, if I set Necrogodner and that is in fact a Raikou, he could flip the Raikou and kill the Necrogodner. I'm going to have to set the Dust Tornado. So he could flip the Raikou, hit the Dust Tornado, and I chain, and then he could sack the Raikou and remove my Necrogodner because that deck plays Caius. If it's a hamster, if I set the Necrogodner, he can flip the hamster, grab the Raikou and put it there, and then sack the hamster for a Caius, and I am then down big still. So in my opinion, the best play here is to summon Necrogodner and say if it's a value or a Raikou, I'm in a better position than if it's a hamster, right? That would be the ideal play. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to attack, and I'm going to say, I hope this is a Raikou or a value, and I'm in a really good spot, and it's not. All right, so you can say I got punished, but if I set this card, I'm going to get punished anyway. So the best play here is to set yourself up. You got to set your hand up for success, right? So you need to play as if that is a Raikou or a value. So again, I'm going to set the Dust Tornado here because he's got a Raikou, and it hopefully hits the back row and I can at least chain it. So at this point, my hope is that he does not have a Caius in his hand, because if he doesn't have a Caius, at least I don't get punished. He can just switch the Raikou and kills the Necrogodner. Switch to the hamster, sorry. So he hits that. Okay, we chain just like we thought. So we're still in a decent position. He got a free plus one on that, which is what the deck does. And so he has the Caius. So again, this is not a luck sack, right? I had one turn, I made a read, and most of the time that read is a Raikou or a Hamster. I mean a Raikou or a Value, and it wasn't. And even if I set this card, I'm still going to get Caius here. So so I get Caius, then I take 1,000. Now I am taking a load of damage here, right? I took 1,100. No sense in dropping Tragodia because he's just going to run it over. Now you can consider dropping the Tragodia, which is what I do here. Hoping to top deck maybe I could take a top deck a Illblood or a Caius to take the Caius, or I could take the Hamster with the Zombie Master and set up a Diva play. So, turn one just didn't go my way, and now we're in a situation here. So there are a couple things I could do here. I could summon the Mystic Tomato, run over the Hamster, and say go. I could summon the Mystic Tomato, crash into the Caius, bring out the Plague Spreader Zombie. I could then copy the level 4 and make a level 6 play. But that's all going to be main phase 2, and then I'm making a Goyo that he could potentially just take. Or I could even take it another step further and then take a Book of Life play on top of that, and then special summon the Plague Spreader back and make a level 8. But all of that feels not good main phase 2. So I take his Hamster here. I make a level 6 Goyo play here. That seems like to be the best option. I can then take this and make a level 8. So right there, it's a pretty good play. We're sitting in a decent situation. So you can make the argument for Colossal, more so against Blackwings. It could be Stardust. That's fine too. But this deck plays a lot of D prisons. And then I just set the Book of Life as a bluff. So this board's pretty difficult for Value to break. They specifically need. He doesn't even have 3 Dark, so Dark Arm's not 100% live. He would need Brain Control. Brain Control the Goyo to take the Archfiend. So that would be the one real card that could break this board. So he has a Greffer. So that can put another Dark in there. That still doesn't really get him anywhere unless it's a Plague Spreader Zombie. He doesn't send Plague, so he's off of Dark Arm right now. Still can't Dark Arm. And so he does have the Brain Control. So I don't consider that a luck sack. I set up a board here that one card can break it, and I knew that when I made it. When I did this play, I thought to myself, if he doesn't have Brain Control, I'm probably going to win this game. He has it, so now I am definitely in a losing position. And that's it. That's game. So again, I don't consider that a top deck or a luck sack. I consider that I made a play there. I could have done a few different plays, and that was the one I decided. And I knew the card that would break the board, and he had it. It happens. So this hand here is not bad. We got the Allure with the Illblood, which is the best combo there. We draw 2. We're gonna set the turtle here. And we're going to say go. So we get punished. This card here is making a comeback. After this match, I actually talked it over with my teammate, specifically JG. He plays zombies. And we are now just summoning monsters games 2 and 3 because you can't afford to just lose to Nobleman. Because this card's really not that good. It's only good specifically turn 1 or turn 2 when you're just setting stuff, because after a while you start summoning turtles and it just loses its value. So it works out here. It was turn 1. He had it. Not much you can do. So in this situation here, we don't do anything. Okay, good. Yeah, because we're reading that's probably a Raikou, so nothing here we want to lose to. It's, of course, Hamster again. This card, this is half the reason why I went with Quick Draw is the Hamster, because Hamster into Raikou into Caius is brutal. It's like a +2. It's almost impossible for most decks to like come back out of, especially like turn 1, turn 2. It's just so good. As you saw last game, I couldn't even play. So here I could drop Tragodia, but I don't. I could drop Tragodia here, sack for a Caius, and attack the turtle. So he sets another one here. So that was one play. But then he would have set a second Raikou. So my thought is here that if I value Trag, especially later on when I can discard cards to take monsters with it. So there's one of two plays you can do right now. I can Brain Control, take the Hamster, and summon Gale and make a Black Rose and blow up everything. That requires me to use Brain and Gale, and I end with nothing. Or I Brain Control, take the Hamster, sack for Caius, remove the monster face down, and my thought is that this is likely a value at this point because he's already pulled out one Raikou. I don't get why he would set another. And then I would end on a Caius on board. So for 2 cards, I would be able to essentially destroy his board and end with a Caius rather than Brain Control Gale. So fundamentally, this is a better play. You can make the argument that I drop Trag and then last turn and then sack the Trag like that. That doesn't really get me anywhere. So this is definitely the better play here. But again, I'm making a read that this is going to be likely value and not a Raikou because he already has one Raikou here, and I don't know why you would set double Raikou into nothing, but that's what he did. So again, you make a read and you make a play based on it. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. And we go exactly into that, and now I lose my Caius. Looking back at it now, making the Gale into the Black Rose would have saved him from milling, but fundamentally that's just not a good play because I would rather end on a Caius making a read that that's a value. So you can say you would have done something differently, sure, and in this situation the other play probably would have been better, but I cannot spend 2 cards and end with none when I can spend 2 cards and end with 1 if that is anything other than a Raikou, right? So we live and learn. Again, I don't consider that a misplay. I don't really consider that I got outplayed. That was a decision I made. I play my hand I play cards based on what I have in my hand and how I can set myself up for future turns, and making that Caius, if that's our value, I'm in a better position. So let's see what he does here. So now he sets the value. So at this point now, what do we do here? I think I might just pass. So we're going to take the damage hit. This is a time where we can drop the Tragodia. We do. And what are we doing here? So we just drew Dark Arm, which is better. We got 1 dark in the grave. So we could do a couple things here. I think I thought about this for a while. I can switch the Trag to attack. Which seems to be the ideal situation. I could also copy and make it a level 6 and summon Plague, which is also a play here. So that's what I decided to do here. He has a deep prison anyway, so the Trag would have gotten banished, but because I'm trying to put the 3 darks in the graveyard, that was my thought here. Rather than switching Trag, I'm going to try to put the 3rd dark. So I make Stardust. We're going to drop Dark Arm because it's safe now behind Bottomless, and Torrential can't do any of that. So we're in a good position here. This is good. Feeling pretty confident. I got a Wing Blast. So we're attacking. When you have a direct attack like this and you have a Dark Arm, you don't really care if he drops scores. It sucks because you have to banish the Plague, but he does not have Gores. So I Book of Life here because he's on 3 darks. 1, 2, 3, and he also has a value play, so I feel like this is probably the best time to do this. That way, if he top decks Dark Arm or has it in his hand, does he have Dark Arm? He does not, but he has a Crow, he can put it back in there. This prevents that from happening, and I set the Wing Blast. So he top decks a Kaiku, but he has the brain control. So at this point, he has brain control, which puts me in an awkward situation here again. Now you can say, well, he had brain control both games in a row. Sure, but he could have had Dark Arm. He could have had anything. So again, leaving when you end on this board here, you have to be aware that there is going to be counterplay. Um, and that's a big thing with zombies. Like if you do these big synchro plays and drop Dark Arm and don't win the game, then you're in a position to just lose the game. So, but I felt pretty confident here because I had Stardust, I had a Wing Blast in case something happened, and specifically the one card he had to really have was he couldn't even top deck Dark Arm. Like I said, he would have to have Brain Control again. Um, so at this point now, I have to decide what I want to lose here. Because if he attacks and kills a Stardust, he's then going to banish everything in his graveyard, and he's going to kill my board, and then he's going to kill the Dark Arm itself, and I'm going to be left with 2 cards in hand and top decking. So, and like an idiot put the card on top of my deck rather than putting it in the graveyard, and I'm like confused as to what I did. So I build it in the graveyard, and I send the Dark Arm back to the top of my deck, which is at least saves me with the I still have Stardust on the board. I felt like that was probably just better. Could have made the argument to pitch the Smashing Ground, and then I could have summoned the Gale here and attacked. But again, I don't know if it's a hamster or not. I saw one hamster. So looking at this now, that could have been the one difference. I could have just summoned Gale and attacked with Gale and hoped, and then attacked directly. So it's a plague. Again, sitting in this situation here, he's already brain controlled. He just put a plague in the graveyard, which is not good now because if he summons a level 4, he can make a Yugioh. And he has a Rhoda, which is fine. He already had the level 4 in his hand. So, and this is going to make a big push here. So I think that he could have just made Yugioh, ran this over, and then took the Stardust. But he doesn't do that. I'm not sure. He then rams. Yeah. I'm not sure this is the right play, but this is what he chooses to do. It clears my board anyway. So I top deck here. I have 2 Darks in the graveyard right now. I actually top deck a Crow, and my Dark Arm's live now. Because I can just send the Crow to the graveyard. So I'm like, oh, so you could consider that a top deck, right? That might be a luck sack here. So he has 1 card in his hand. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to Crow and drop Dark. And he knows I sent Dark Arm to the top of the deck. And I'm probably just going to win this game. And he actually changed his own Crow. So I had an option to actually win this game, and by keeping the Gale and maybe just attacking with the Gale over Stardust, I was already kind of put in an awkward situation with the brain control play. So at this point, I'm still not dead. I still just need a Dark. All I need is any top deck Dark will still win me this game. Aside from he just top decked a Kaiku, so now I can't top deck a Dark to win the game. If he top decks anything but that, I'm probably okay, but yeah, this is bad. So he removes the 2 Darks I had, and I top deck Turtle. So if he doesn't actually top deck the Kaiku there, I could have summoned the Turtle, crashed, summoned Goblin Zombie, crashed. Before I would have had more life points, and then I could have dropped Dark Arm. So again, I had an option to win this game, the one play with the Gale, but I Wing Blast and pitched the Smashing Ground. I just felt a little bit safer at the time. I felt like I was pretty well in control of the game with the Stardust on the board. I don't consider this that my opponent sacked me. Every game there is a decision you have to make. There are multiple decisions you make, and sometimes when you make a decision, there's always a consequence from that decision. And sure, my opponent had brain control both games, and it sucked. cost me the games, but I also put myself in those positions to lose to that card. So I think this is a video just to discuss what I hear all the time. People just kind of complaining about losing out to certain cards, and I think that if you know, complain less about losing to certain cards and realize why you lost to them, it's probably more beneficial. And again, if you look at this game, there's decisions that you could have made differently. And like I said, I did have an option to win game two if I had just summoned the Gale. But at the time, the decisions I made were based on how I was feeling that day. And I don't have any regrets. So this was me losing in a tournament match. And I share all games. I don't just share the ones I win. So once we get to 100 subscribers, I'm going to start doing those streams and playing with everybody who wants to play. I think I'm at like 63 or something. A lot of people watch the videos, they don't subscribe. If you find it somewhat helpful, subscribe so you can watch more videos. And once we hit 100, I'm going to get the face cam and the streams going. So I'll see y'all at the next one.